All right, are you ready to dive deep? This time, it's Vancouver versus Toronto. The age-old question. Which city reigns supreme in Canada?
Oh, this is a good one.
It's a classic debate. We've got a Wikipedia page for each city to get us started, a comparison article that really puts them head-to-head, and a YouTube video with, well, some strong opinions.
Oh, I know that video. It definitely stirs the pot.
Yeah, but we're going to sort through all of that to help you figure out which city you might like better.
Sounds good to me.
So let's kick things off with some basic stats. Toronto is a giant, right? Over 2.7 million people, according to its wiki page. Vancouver, 662,000. A bit of a David and Goliath situation, maybe?
Yeah, population-wise, Toronto's definitely the Goliath, but don't be fooled by those numbers. Both cities are packed. Toronto's wiki article says has a density of 4,427 people per square kilometer.
Whoa, that's dense.
And Vancouver, even denser, over 5,700 people per square kilometer.
So no matter which city you choose, you're going to have a lot of neighbors,
Mm-hmm.
close neighbors. Which makes me think about those livability rankings. You know, the ones that always say Vancouver is top tier and Toronto's kind of lagging behind. Our YouTube video is all over that. But Toronto's an economic powerhouse. How can it be so unlivable?
I think the livability thing often boils down to climate, environment, that work-life balance everyone's always chasing.
Right, right.
Vancouver scores big points in those areas. Our comparison article talks about it a lot. The climate, for example, mild, rainy, perfect, apparently, for anyone who loves being outdoors. Toronto, though, you get the whole Four Seasons thing.
It includes the snow, right?
Yep, snow, slush, the works.
So Vancouver, beautiful scenery, a more relaxed vibe. Our comparison article even calls Vancouver laid back. But then its Wikipedia page highlights all these industries. Film, tech. That doesn't sound very laid back to me.
Yeah, Vancouver might be more dynamic than people give it credit for.
More than just a pretty face, perhaps. Speaking of pretty, though, can Vancouver compete with the energy of Toronto? Those art galleries, the bustling markets, the financial district, there's a certain buzz there.
Don't forget about their libraries. Toronto's Wikipedia article is super proud of that. The world's largest neighborhood-based library system, they say.
Okay, points for libraries. But now, the big question, cost of living. Every source we have, they all agree, both cities are expensive. But Vancouver, woof, especially for housing.
You're telling me? Our YouTube video goes on and on about it. Even if Toronto has higher average salaries, which it might, they mentioned that too. Vancouver's housing costs just eat up any extra cash you might make.
It's like you need to be a millionaire just to afford a decent place. All right, cultural scene. Toronto is known for its diversity. Our sources say over 100,000 immigrants settle in the greater Toronto area every single year. That's got to bring some amazing cultural richness.
Oh, it does. Arts, food, everything. You can find anything you want to eat in Toronto. Literally any type of food.
But I'm thinking Vancouver's got its own cultural draws, right? Our comparison article mentions a big Asian influence, especially for food.
Oh, yeah. Vancouver has its own distinct flavor, that's for sure.
Okay, so we've got nature versus urban energy, affordability struggles, and cultural experiences galore. But how do you actually get around in these cities?
Well, everyone praises Vancouver for being so bike-friendly. Our YouTube video is gushing about it. But I'm a bit skeptical.
Oh, you're going to burst the Vancouver cycling bubble.
Maybe just a little. There's SkyTrain, there's rapid transit. It's limited. Vancouver's own Wikipedia page admits it. Lots of key areas aren't even connected, so you're stuck on buses, dealing with traffic. Not ideal.
Not so breezy then. What about Toronto? How's their transit?
Now, that's a different story. Toronto's transit system is a beast. Third highest ridership in North America. That's what their Wikipedia article says. It gets people where they need to go.
All right, so Toronto's got the edge in transit, maybe. But before we wrap up this first round, let's get a little historical.
I love a bit of history.
Me too. And Toronto's got a pretty dramatic past. It was called York once, you know. And it got burned down by American troops during the War of 1812. That's all on their wiki page.
Wow, Vancouver can't really top that.
Maybe not for drama. But their Wikipedia article does talk about a history of labor unrest and social movements.
Oh, yeah. The first general strike in Canada happened in Vancouver back in 1918.
So maybe Toronto's got this established, almost burned down and rose from the ashes vibe. Vancouver, a bit more rebellious maybe, underdog energy.
I like that. Two very different personalities.
So we've covered a lot of ground. Population density, the whole livability debate, cost of living woes, culture clashes, transportation triumphs and fails, and even a little historical showdown. What are you thinking so far? Which city is pulling ahead?
Honestly, It's a tough call. Both cities have their pluses and minuses. It all depends on what you're looking for.
Exactly. And remember, this is just the beginning. We've got a lot more to uncover in our Vancouver versus Toronto deep dive. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to round 2 of Vancouver versus Toronto.
It's getting heated. I'm ready for more city showdown action.
All right, so this time, let's talk about amenities. You know, the things that make city life actually livable.
Yeah. We've covered the big picture stuff, but what about day-to-day? What makes these cities tick?
Well, both cities have tons of entertainment options.
Like nightlife, restaurants, all that jazz.
Exactly. Toronto being bigger, it's got more of everything, huge concert halls, Broadway-style theaters, even those cool underground music spots. Their wiki page was really emphasizing that. Toronto's got it all.
And Vancouver. Smaller, but still mighty.
Yeah, Vancouver's scene might be a bit more intimate, but it's still buzzing. Think indie music festivals, quirky art galleries in, like, old warehouses,
Yeah.
and their craft beer scene is booming.
Plus, they've got the ocean right there. Water sports, beaches, that's a big perk.
Definitely. So both cities cater to different tastes, for sure. What about green spaces? We talked about nature a bit, but how do their parks measure up?
Right. Parks are important.
Toronto has some lovely parks and ravines, nice escapes from the hustle and bustle. High Park, for instance, has amazing views of the city, great for picnics, a leisurely stroll.
But come on, those parks can't compete with what Vancouver's got, right?
You're probably right about that. Vancouver is basically built for outdoor recreation. Stanley Park, 1,000 acres, beaches, forests, even an aquarium. Then you've got Grouse Mountain with hiking, skiing. It's all right there.
Okay, Vancouver definitely wins for nature. But what about safety, crime rates, that kind of thing? How do they compare?
Both cities are generally pretty safe. But like any big city, there are areas to watch out for. Our YouTube video brought up some concerns, remember?
Yeah, and both cities are dealing with homelessness, right?
Sadly, yes. And that can impact people's sense of safety, even if the crime stats aren't that bad.
Absolutely. It's a complex issue tied to affordability and social services.
It is.
Okay, so both cities are safe overall, but you've got to be aware of your surroundings, use common sense, like any big city. Now let's talk about food. This is my favorite part. We mentioned it before, but it deserves a deeper dive.
I'm with you there. Food is a big part of what makes a city unique.
And both Toronto and Vancouver, they've got it going on food-wise. Toronto is such a melting pot. Over 100,000 immigrants every year. They bring their culinary traditions with them.
Yeah, it's incredible. Toronto has every cuisine imaginable. Authentic Ethiopian food next to a fancy French place. It's amazing.
But Vancouver's got its own culinary strengths. That Asian influence especially.
Definitely. Vancouver scene might be a bit smaller, but it's super innovative. Fresh ingredients, local sourcing, and the seafood. Fresh salmon, oysters, Dungeness crab. Amazing.
Okay, both cities sound delicious. Toronto's got that insane variety. Vancouver's more focused, farm to table.
Yeah.
It's a tough choice. What about shopping? Designer boutiques or cool indie shops? What's the vibe?
You can find both in Toronto and Vancouver, but Toronto's more high-end, more extensive. Yorkville, that's their luxury district. All the big names are there. Then there's the Eaton Centre, a massive mall. You can find anything there.
But Vancouver's not just a bunch of chain stores.
Nope. Vancouver's about unique boutiques, local designers. Gastown, for instance, that's their historic district, lots of quirky shops and galleries. And then Granville Island Market, you have to go there. Arts and crafts, fresh food, all sorts of vendors. It's great.
So Toronto is for big city shoppers. Vancouver's for finding those one-of-a-kind things, supporting local businesses. Two very different approaches. Okay, what about public transit? Especially if you don't want to be stuck in traffic all the time.
Good point. We talked about transportation a bit, but how does it work in practice?
Yeah, it's about more than just getting around. It's about convenience, reliability, even the whole culture of public transit.
Toronto's got a great system. Subways, buses, streetcars, it all works together. Third largest in North America by ridership, their wiki page says.
Impressive. And Vancouver. They've got the SkyTrain and that reputation for being bike-friendly.
Yeah, but the SkyTrain is a bit limited, even though it's fast. Their Wikipedia article even says it doesn't cover all the popular areas, so you end up relying on buses a lot, and that means traffic.
Not so efficient then. So Toronto's more comprehensive, more reliable. Vancouver's more about being active, biking everywhere. A classic trade-off. Okay, now let's talk education. Important for families, especially.
Huge factor when you're choosing a city to live in.
Right. And both cities have great schools and universities, right?
Oh, yeah. Some of Canada's best. Toronto's got the University of Toronto, York University, and their public school system is huge. Really diverse, all sorts of programs and special schools.
But Vancouver's got brains too, right? They're known for being innovative, creative.
Absolutely. They've got the University of British Columbia, another top school, plus Simon Fraser University, and lots of specialized colleges. Their public schools are known for small class sizes and a focus on outdoor education.
So Toronto's more traditional, big city education, Vancouver's more progressive, hands-on. Interesting contrast.
It is, and both sisters are excellent, just different approaches.
All right, so we've covered entertainment, green spaces, safety, food, shopping, transit, even education. Wow, we've been busy.
We have a real deep dive into city life.
But before we declare a winner, we have to talk about family life. How do these cities stack up for raising kids, building a community, finding that work-life balance? It's the final round of our city showdown. All right, final round, Vancouver versus Toronto, family edition. It all comes down to this.
The stakes are high. We've seen what these cities have to offer, but for families, it's a whole other ballgame.
So let's talk family vibes. Beyond schools, what makes each city unique for families?
Well, Toronto's got that incredible diversity. Kids growing up there, they're exposed to so many cultures, languages, different ways of life. Imagine that right in your neighborhood.
That's a huge plus. But Vancouver has that outdoor lifestyle. Kids growing up hiking, exploring beaches.
Both cities have nature, but Vancouver's got it all right there. Mountains, forests, the ocean, weekends, kayaking, skiing. It's a dream for outdoor families.
Okay, nature points for Vancouver. But what about kid-friendly activities? We're talking zoos, museums, that kind of stuff.
Toronto's got tons of that. The CN Tower, Ripley's Aquarium, the Science Center, the ROM, plus all sorts of festivals and events. Something for everyone all year round.
And Vancouver. Anything to rival that.
Oh, yeah. Stanley Park is amazing for families. Playgrounds, beaches, a water park, even a mini train. Then there's the Vancouver Aquarium, Granville Island Market. Kids love it.
Sounds like both cities know how to keep kids entertained. But what about the community aspect? Is it easy to connect with other families, make friends?
Both cities have a strong community feel, but in different ways. Toronto's so multicultural, you're always meeting people from all over. It creates a real sense of openness and inclusion.
And Vancouver. Maybe a bit more laid back, focused on shared interests.
Exactly. It's more about that love for nature, that active, healthy lifestyle. Community gardens, farmers markets, outdoor fitness groups. You bond over that shared passion.
So community is strong in both cities, but the vibe is different. Now the big one, affordability. We talked about how expensive both cities are, but how does that affect families specifically?
It's a huge challenge, especially housing costs. It's tough for families to find somewhere decent they can afford.
And it affects everything, right?
Yeah.
Childcare, extracurricular activities.
Absolutely. Families have to make sacrifices, and it hits some communities harder than others. It's a real problem.
It is. Even in these thriving cities, there are families struggling, something both cities need to work on. Okay, before we wrap up, let's talk healthcare. Super important for families.
Absolutely essential.
So how do Toronto and Vancouver compare? What are the strengths and weaknesses?
Well, everyone in Canada has access to healthcare. That's the system. But wait times can be long, especially in big cities like Toronto.
So maybe Vancouver's better in that regard, being smaller.
Not necessarily. They have their own challenges, especially finding specialists. And Vancouver's in British Columbia, where everything's more expensive, including healthcare.
So universal healthcare, yes, but it's not perfect. Families might face different hurdles in each city.
Yeah, it's complicated. You need to be informed, know your options.
Well said. I think we've covered a lot. We've explored these two amazing cities, the culture, the nature, the day-to-day realities, the challenges.
It's been a real journey. And honestly, we've seen that these cities have more in common than you might think.
They do. They
Yeah.
both have so much to offer. Different flavors, different vibes, different challenges.
In the end, the best city is the one that fits you best. Your values, your priorities, your lifestyle.
Exactly. We hope this deep dive has helped you see the possibilities in both Toronto and Vancouver. Weigh those pros and cons. Imagine your life in each city.
So which team are you on? Team Toronto or Team Vancouver? Or maybe you've discovered that both cities have stolen your heart a little bit.
Either way, keep exploring. Dig deeper into those neighborhoods, those cultures. Find those hidden gems. Who knows? This might be the start of your Canadian adventure.
Happy exploring, everyone!